Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Amanda goes back to Genoa City to get Kane. Lily is suspicious. There is a reason why Amanda Sinclair travels to Genoa City, Wisconsin. Morgan's character, who was last seen in the south of France, is required to assist her boss. Billy Flynn's character, Kane Ashby, is trying to carry out his ambitious takeover scheme. However, Victor Newman's preemptive attack has momentarily distracted him. Finally carrying out his father's instructions, Adam Newman delivered a global smear. Kane's personal life is in a precarious state after his Aristotle Dumas cover was revealed by Newman Media. He therefore requires Amanda's support. Kane Ashby isn't taking it by himself. Kane talks about how his club needs players. He requires underlings to help him build whatever force is required to jeopardize GC's legacy family businesses, so he can't do it alone. The only person in town Kane trusted to assist him in overseeing the numerous properties Arabesque had lately purchased was Holden Novak. Regarding Holden's job, the dismissal that occurred weeks ago, when Damian Kane was still alive, was a charade. He was still working, but in a covert capacity. Lily Winters and other people are now aware that Holden works with Kane. However, she hasn't been able to pinpoint his exact actions. Amanda probably is aware. Amanda Sinclair's viewpoint is distinct. Adam discovered that it's generally bad to defy the bosses when he failed to publish the Mega Slam Victor requested to be used while everyone was stranded on Kane's estate. Now, Amanda is in a different situation. When Nick Newman needed emergency assistance, Kane was able to forgive Amanda for unblocking the cell signal. Their top-down connection seemed to be re-established after Flynn's character advised her that it was the proper decision. However, the audience may be curious about Kane and Amanda's involvement outside of business. In the event that Amanda harbors love feelings for Kane, the triangle might be helpful. Although Lily still harbors affections for her ex-husband, she is right to be wary of him at this stage in the story. Lily Winters prioritized her family. Regarding the kids she and Kane have together, Lily is straightforward. Both parents believe that the twins' welfare is the most important thing. Kane didn't think his alter identity would be exposed so quickly. He was unable to inform Matty Ashby and Charlie Ashby about his activities throughout the 6 years since he left GC because of that development. If the plot is well developed and leads to a plausible conclusion through remarriage, it would be interesting to watch Kane and Lily get back together. Fans are aware that Lily's lack of faith in this recast version of Kane is a long way from that point. But adding Amanda to the daytime mix would give this story the soap opera twist it needs to really take off and pique Lily's interest, as well as that of everyone else who was enticed to France earlier this summer. Amanda Sinclair's sudden return to Genoa City to reconnect with Kane Ashby raised immediate questions, suspicions, and a whirlwind of gossip, especially in Lily Winters' world, where the scars of past betrayals still linger, and trust is a fragile currency that Kane hasn't fully earned back. The timing of Amanda's reappearance couldn't be more controversial, given that Kane's ambitious takeover scheme was already destabilized by Victor Newman's ruthless counter-strategy, and Adam Newman's global smear campaign had thrown even more chaos into the mix. For Kane, the situation is both dire and familiar. His past has a way of haunting him, unraveling carefully laid plans just when they appear poised for success. This time, however, he's determined not to face the storm alone. Amanda's involvement suggests layers of complexity that go beyond business. She's smart, calculating, legally savvy, and carries her own complicated history with the Winters family, especially after her uncanny resemblance to Hilary Curtis left Genoa City divided years ago. Now, her re-entry into Kane's orbit adds fuel to Lily's unease, not only because of Amanda's sharp mind and potential emotional pull on Kane, but also because Amanda has the kind of legal and corporate expertise that can transform Kane's fragile ambitions into something truly dangerous if she chooses to stand by him. For Lily, who has spent years piecing her life back together and prioritizing her children's well-being, Kane's alliance with Amanda doesn't simply represent a business partnership. It stirs the old wounds of deception, the blurred lines of loyalty, and the possibility that her ex-husband might once again entangle himself in a destructive cycle of secrets and lies that could harm everyone connected to him. The truth is, Kane knows he cannot rebuild his empire or mount a successful offensive against Genoa City's legacy families without trusted allies, And Amanda's arrival is not a coincidence but rather a calculated move, orchestrated in part by Kane's strategic foresight and Amanda's own instincts for survival. Having worked with him before, Amanda recognizes that Kane thrives under pressure and that his shadow identity, Aristotle Dumas, may have been exposed by Newman Media but hasn't entirely lost its mystique or utility. Kane's network of shell companies, his acquisition of arabesque properties, and his reliance on Holden Novak as a covert operative all point to a man who understands the art of deception and reinvention better than most. Holden's fake dismissal weeks earlier, engineered while Damian Kane was still alive, only solidifies the notion that Kane's team is built on subterfuge and loyalty disguised beneath public spectacle. Lily knows Holden is still working for Kane, but her inability to grasp the depth of his role keeps her at a frustrating disadvantage, a position Amanda is unlikely to share. Amanda, unlike Lily, is equipped with the analytical detachment and legal acumen to understand Kane's motivations, assess his strategies, and decide whether to tether her future to his ambitions. This unique vantage point puts her at odds with Lily, who remains guided more by emotion, maternal responsibility, and a history that makes it difficult to separate who Kane is today from who he was in the past. The Kane-Amanda dynamic, however, is not without its own shadows of tension and possibility. Their bond, once tested during moments of crisis, such as when Amanda risked unblocking the cell signal to save Nick Newman despite Kane's insistence on secrecy, reflects a partnership forged under duress but also underlined by trust. Kane forgave her quickly, perhaps too quickly in Lily's eyes, and even praised her for making the right decision, revealing a kind of emotional reliance that goes deeper than mere business. This is where the audience, and certainly Lily, begins to wonder, is Amanda merely a trusted ally, or does she hold a more personal, intimate place in Kane's heart? Soap operas thrive on triangles, and the Amanda-Kane-Lily configuration has all the makings of a compelling storyline filled with jealousy, rivalry, and forbidden desire. Amanda's presence reignites Kane's softer side, the part of him that longs for companionship and validation, while simultaneously threatening to unravel the fragile progress Lily has made toward redefining her life without him. Meanwhile, Kane's personal struggles with fatherhood remain a ticking time bomb in the narrative. His 6-year absence, cloaked in the identity of Aristotle Dumas, left Mattie and Charlie Ashby without honest answers, and though Kane believed he was protecting them from a darker truth, the sudden exposure of his secret has left the twins questioning his integrity and intentions. For Lily, who has always placed the welfare of her children above all else, Kane's deception represents not just a personal betrayal but a parental failure. Her instinct is to shield Mattie and Charlie from further damage, even if it means keeping Kane at arm's length. Yet, if Kane genuinely desires reconciliation with his family, Amanda's role may either serve as a stabilizing force, helping him rebuild trust and legitimacy, or as a wedge that widens the gap between Kane and Lily by appearing to supplant her in Kane's personal and professional life. This delicate balance keeps viewers guessing. Will Amanda emerge as a catalyst for redemption or destruction in Kane's story arc? The wider canvas of Genoa city politics makes Amanda's return even more intriguing. With Victor Newman orchestrating attacks on Kane's credibility, Adam Newman chafing under his father's dominance, and Newman Media flexing its power to humiliate rivals, Kane's decision to lean on Amanda looks less like desperation and more like a calculated counterstrike. Amanda has never been afraid to take on titans, and her unique perspective allows her to maneuver in spaces where others falter. While Adam may have learned the hard way that defying Victor carries consequences, Amanda's entry into the game signals a willingness to challenge the old guard, to rewrite the rules of engagement, and to lend Kane the kind of intellectual firepower he needs to stay relevant in a world dominated by families like the Newmans and Abbotts. For viewers, the question becomes not only whether Kane can succeed but whether Amanda is helping him for purely professional reasons or whether deeper, more personal motivations are at play. For Lily Winters, all of this amounts to a storm she can't ignore. Though she tries to focus on her family and career, Kane's relentless presence in Genoa City, amplified now by Amanda's involvement, forces her to confront unresolved feelings. She may be cautious, even distrustful, but love, once ignited, rarely disappears completely, and Kane's charm, persistence, and shared history with her continue to gnaw at her defenses. Lily is right to be suspicious, however, Because Amanda's presence threatens not just her ability to keep Kane at a distance but also her ability to control the narrative of her own life. If Kane and Amanda grow closer, romantically or otherwise, Lily must decide whether her lingering affections for Kane are strong enough to warrant intervention or whether it's time to let him go completely, no matter how painful that choice may be. Ultimately, Amanda's return to Genoa City represents more than just another chapter in Kane Ashby's saga. It symbolizes the intersection of past mistakes, present ambitions, and future possibilities. For Kane, it's about redemption and survival. For Amanda, it's about carving out her place in a city that never fully accepted her. And for Lily, it's about protecting her children while navigating her unresolved feelings for a man who continues to pull her into his orbit. The triangle between these three characters, set against the backdrop of corporate warfare, family loyalty, and personal betrayal, creates a narrative ripe for drama, intrigue, and emotional payoff. Whether it ends in remarriage, heartbreak, or explosive confrontation, one thing is certain. Amanda's decision to stand by Kane, and Lily's suspicion of her motives, will shape the future of Genoa City in ways that no one can fully predict. And fans will be watching closely as the sparks fly, the secrets unravel, and the lines between love, loyalty, and ambition blur once again. Amanda's re-emergence in Genoa City couldn't have been scripted at a more combustible time, because Kane's fragile position in the corporate and personal world is hanging by a thread, and Lily's suspicions about Amanda's role threaten to crack open tensions that never really healed. For Lily, the challenge is not only emotional but existential. She built a life free from Kane's turbulence, regained her footing as a strong, independent woman, and worked hard to shield her children from the ripple effects of their father's schemes. But now, with Amanda slipping back into Kane's orbit, Lily feels the familiar pang of being on the outside of a narrative she once controlled. Her instincts scream that Amanda is not here solely for business, no matter how polished her explanations sound about helping a client or finishing a deal. Lily, having lived through Kane's endless disguises, secrets, and moral compromises, understands all too well how easily business entanglements morph into personal ones, and Amanda's track record of walking the fine line between professional boundaries and emotional involvement only deepens her unease. It doesn't help that Amanda has always carried an aura of mystery, a near-mirror image of Hilary Curtis that unsettled Genoa City from the moment she first arrived. That doppelganger history lingers like a ghost, and in Lily's eyes, it makes Amanda not just a potential business partner for Kane but also a haunting reminder of how easily lives can be turned upside down by secrets and lookalikes. Kane, meanwhile, is operating with his back against the wall but refusing to give in. Newman Media's expose of his Aristotle Demar identity stripped away years of careful concealment, leaving him vulnerable in a way that feels almost unbearable. He knows he has lost credibility, but he refuses to lose power. If anything, the exposure has hardened his resolve, fueling his desire to reclaim respect and dominance not only in Genoa City's corporate circles but also in his personal life. Kane understands that Amanda's return gives him a lifeline. She is intelligent, unflinchingly rational, and possesses the kind of legal sharpness that can unravel even Victor Newman's most cunning counterattacks. But Kane also knows Amanda isn't someone who operates without motive. She doesn't simply wander back into town because an old ally asked. There's a deeper layer to her reappearance, perhaps tied to her own need for relevance, unfinished business with the Winters family, or an unspoken desire to test the emotional undercurrents between herself and Kane. For Kane, the risk is twofold. Amanda's help could restore his footing, but her proximity could also entangle him in another scandal, personal or otherwise, that Lily will be quick to exploit. Amanda herself carries the most fascinating ambiguity in this triangle. To the public, she's simply returning to aid Kane in overseeing Arabesque's tangled acquisitions, ensuring Holden Novak's covert work doesn't collapse under scrutiny. To Victor Newman, she's an irritant, a strategist too clever to underestimate, someone who can undo the damage his media machine inflicted. But privately, Amanda is grappling with her own divided loyalties. Part of her knows the Winters family has every reason to distrust her. Her resemblance to Hilary, her past entanglements with Devon, and her tendency to insert herself into dynamics that blur the line between personal and professional. Yet another part of her is drawn to Kane's combination of vulnerability and ambition. Kane is a man who projects strength but beneath the layers of deception is deeply fractured. Amanda sees in him both a challenge and a possibility, a chance to help someone reinvent himself while perhaps finding a reinvention of her own. The sparks of tension grow stronger as Amanda begins working more closely with Kane. Their late-night strategy sessions at his estate, poring over contracts and analyzing Newman Media's smear tactics, create a rhythm of intimacy that others can't ignore. Even if nothing romantic has happened yet, the proximity alone becomes fodder for Genoa City's endless gossip mill. Billy Abbott, never one to miss an opportunity to needle Kane, makes sly comments about how Amanda always manages to orbit men who thrive on secrets. Devon, with his complicated history with Amanda and lingering resentment toward Kane, warns Lily to stay vigilant. Even Nikki Newman, overhearing tidbits about Kane's attempted resurgence, questions whether Amanda is unwittingly painting a target on her back by aligning herself with a man Victor already considers expendable. Lily's perspective, however, remains the most compelling. Watching Kane and Amanda interact stirs a cocktail of emotions: jealousy, fear, anger, and the faint ache of love she's tried desperately to suppress. For years, Lily has told herself that her children's well-being comes before her feelings, and for the most part, she's lived up to that. But as Mattie and Charlie watch their father claw back into the spotlight, they too become curious, confused, and conflicted. Charlie, more forgiving, sees Kane's resilience as admirable. Mattie, skeptical like her mother, distrusts everything Kane says or does. Amanda's presence only complicates this family rift, because to the twins, she represents both stability, someone who can help their father navigate treacherous waters, and disruption, a stranger who may once again take their parents further apart. Lily, caught between her instincts and her children's differing views, is left with the burden of making choices that affect not just her, but an entire family already splintered by lies. As Kane continues his maneuvers, Amanda begins uncovering aspects of his strategy that even Holden Novak hadn't been privy to. Kane, it turns out, has been building a silent coalition with smaller business owners disillusioned by Newman and Abbott dominance. He pitches them a vision of independence, of breaking free from the monopolies that have controlled Genoa City for decades. Amanda is impressed by the scope of his plan, but she also recognizes the risks. Aligning herself with Kane means going toe-to-toe with titans who have resources far greater than his own. Yet, the more she immerses herself in his world, the more she sees a reflection of herself in his struggle, an outsider fighting for legitimacy in a city that doesn't easily forgive or forget. It's this resonance that makes her involvement more than professional, even if she hasn't admitted it aloud. Victor, of course, remains a looming threat. He doesn't like loose ends, and Amanda's interference in Kane's affairs is precisely the kind of loose end he would rather eliminate before it grows into a problem. When Adam, already bruised from his father's criticism, warns Amanda that Kane is a sinking ship and that she'll go down with him, she's forced to confront the possibility that her return to Genoa City may cost her more than she anticipated. But Amanda isn't easily intimidated. She sees in Adam's warning not only fear but perhaps envy. That Kane, even exposed, still commands a loyalty Adam often struggles to achieve. This insight emboldens her, even as it makes Lily more wary. The emotional storm reaches a fever pitch when Lily confronts Amanda directly. It happens at Society, in front of an audience that pretends not to watch but listens to every word. Lily doesn't mince words. She accuses Amanda of enabling Kane's delusions, of risking the stability of a family already torn apart, and of chasing shadows of ambition that will leave everyone shattered. Amanda, calm and collected, counters that Kane deserves a chance to redefine himself, that no one has the right to dictate whom she works with, and that Lily's distrust is more about her own unresolved feelings than about Kane's choices. The confrontation leaves both women rattled, but it also signals to the entire town that the triangle is no longer just private. It's a battle line drawn in the sand for all to see. In the weeks that follow, the story escalates into a battle of perception and power. Kane pushes forward with his acquisitions, Amanda refines the legal frameworks to shield them, and Lily grows increasingly torn between exposing Kane's secrets to protect her children or standing aside and letting him crash on his own. What no one expects, however, is the possibility that Kane's gamble might actually succeed. If his coalition of independents holds, if Amanda's legal strategies withstand Newman Media's scrutiny, and if Holden's covert maneuvers continue to bear fruit, Kane could very well rise again, not just as a player, but as a force capable of reshaping Genoa City's corporate landscape. For Lily, this outcome is terrifying, because a powerful Cain is a dangerous Cain, and a Cain aligned with Amanda could become unstoppable. The suspense deepens as whispers of romance begin to circulate. A photo snapped of Cain and Amanda leaving his estate late at night makes its way into the tabloids, sparking speculation of an affair. Cain dismisses it as nonsense, Amanda insists it's baseless, but Lily can't shake the sting. To her, the image is more than gossip. It's a confirmation of her worst fear, that Cain, no matter how much he claims to love his family, will always choose ambition and companionship over stability and honesty. Yet, paradoxically, the sight of Cain with Amanda also reignites something in Lily, a gnawing awareness that her own feelings for him are far from extinguished. The soap opera brilliance of it all lies in this contradiction. The more she distrusts him, the more she still loves him, and the harder it becomes to maintain her resolve. In the end, Amanda's return is not merely about business or even romance, it's about the collision of identity, ambition, and family. Her partnership with Cain exposes fault lines in Genoa City's power structure, challenges Lily's fragile sense of control, and sets in motion a series of confrontations that will shape not only Cain's destiny but also Amanda's place in a city that has never fully embraced her. For Cain, Amanda represents both salvation and temptation, a lifeline and a test of whether he can finally break free from the cycles that have defined his past. For Lily, Amanda represents a rival, a threat, and perhaps the catalyst she needs to finally decide once and for all whether she is willing to forgive, forget, or walk away forever. And for Genoa City, the triangle between these three characters becomes the heartbeat of a storyline filled with intrigue, betrayal, redemption, and the ever-present possibility that love, no matter how broken, still has the power to rewrite everything.